Howdy, howdy. It's Rhop Father 916. Bravo superfan, reality show junkie, Bravo-holic. If you watch a Housewife, what do you think? Are you still interested? Do you care? You think you're going to stay with the Housewives franchise? Or are you looking for something else, or has it just been on too long? What are your thoughts? Some of you know me. If you're seeing me for the first time, I used to write a blog and I used to review Atlanta and I think New York. And I've appeared on podcasts because people find me silly, because I don't take it personally. You know, if somebody disagrees with me because I don't like a star, you know, I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. I don't know these people. People don't know me. So, but I feel the Housewives are fading, and I will explain why. So let's go from there. Let me explain. Housewives have been a long time. Made a lot of money for NBC, Bravo, and Andy Cohen. Helped make Andy Cohen a household name. A lot of people know messy, funny, seems like a really nice guy, Andy Cohen. The shows are in trouble. I think they suffer from a lack of fresh thinking. I think Andy needs to hire one of diverse producers, because they've made some major missteps. And these missteps they've made that the entertainment makes. It's like, we can't have an integrated cast because we are not comfortable. Because there's a difference, when we talk about race and integration, there's one thing of knowing a person of a different color, there's another one of actually being friends and socializing. Meaning, I may work with you and I have that work relationship, but it's nothing compared to I'm coming over to your house, breaking bread, having drinks, and we're laughing and we kikiing the whole 9 yards. And since a lot of people live in bubbles, producers, directors, studios, where it's not diverse, people either have a token, as they've had for many years, but they're missing an opportunity. When there are very few blockbusters starring black people, other than, the Bad Boys or something like that. But Hollywood was missing a large audience. Tyler Perry, he went after the black people, and look at him now. But Hollywood is still missing Hispanics, Asians, other groups. Europe does it better, especially in London. You see one of the shows which has been on forever, called EastEnders. You have Indians, you have Asians, you have white, black, that represents the community. And Bravo doesn't have the secret sauce. And they're missing out on audiences. One of my favorite shows of the Housewives is, well, not one of it, my favorite is New York. Unlike the other shows, these women are accomplished for the most part. They actually have businesses and worth a few $1 million. These are smart women. And that's why the majority of the cast have been there a long time. But who cast all those white women in a city where the majority of the population are people of color? Where are the Hispanics? Hispanics is the second largest group in the United States, and it's growing. Where are they? How could you miss that in New York? Where are the black people? Where are the Asians? Where are the other groups? This is where Hollywood's having a problem, and it shows in Housewives. how in New York do you have just white women? Because that's who they know. They may know of the only one who I think has black friends, because by the way she talks, is Dorinda. Dorinda's is comfortable. They created a black friend for for Ramona, but I don't think she has dark-skinned white friends. I love Ramona, but that's the problem. And after, in some cases, 14 seasons, the system, the casting, the machine has gone stale. And I don't think they know what to do about it. And sometimes you have to get fresh faces and be open to having those. And you don't have a lot of that in Hollywood. Atlanta, I'm black, love to see black people in Atlanta, but there's a lot of white people in Atlanta. You know, had a token minority, Kim Zolciak. Boy, isn't her story sad today. There's rumors that she, like Jill Zarin, hire me please, I'll make biscuits. And to all the shows, I mean, the downfall of Dallas was when they at the last minute added people of color, an Hispanic lady and an Asian lady. They were embarrassed, and so with the low ratings, they were gone. They don't know each other. Friendships have to develop organically. These people, most of them only get together when it's time to film. They're not real friends. They've just been put together. In New York, the women knew each other. Jill Zarin knew people. The Countess knew of Jill Zarin. People knew of Dorinda. The only outsider really was Bethany Frankel. Jill Zarin brought her in. And I'll get back to Bethany Frankel. Orange County, same thing. Lack of diversity. Lots of Hispanics in California. You can't come to California and I mean the second language in California is Spanish. Come on, Texas, Arizona, all these other, come on. And yet there are few shows where there's a Hispanic person. Maybe just that token. And I know this well because I was in management for many years where I was the black person, or in some cases, the person of color. I had little pull because I knew I made people uncomfortable because they don't have black friends, I can always tell. So my vote, the only time my place, I played a role is when they asked me a question, the black question. I had one of the managers, directors was Hispanic, so when they ever had a Hispanic question, that's when it was time for her to come on. And then we had another woman. We were the minorities. She's a white woman. We were the minorities, but the majority of people were white men, and they really didn't want to hear our opinions. And we wanted to keep our jobs, so we didn't have one. But if you have more people of color and people get used to working together, but normally I see Hollywood like I see regular life. Got that one black, check, one Hispanic, check, one Asian, check, one gay, check, maybe, and one Asian, maybe, check. Second largest population in the United States today. Third, after Hispanics. Asians. Blacks number 3. People have gotten used to seeing black people on TV. So now we're not just tokens. Well, on TV. In the movies, we're still getting there. But Bravo and Hollywood's missing an opportunity. And you can't bring them in later. The worst casting ever made, and I was so glad when she got the job because finally they have a black woman in New York City, was Ebony K. Williams. She was polarizing, she was alienating, and she intimidated the white women there because she felt her role was to immerse them in African American 101. And if they didn't respond well, they paid for it, and they didn't want to show. A lot of white people are afraid to be seen as racist. And so it was uncomfortable. I mean, that's why they created a buffer. Suddenly, Ramona had a black friend. It just made no sense whatsoever. Ramona doesn't have friends. I mean, she doesn't have dark-skinned white friends. I know I've said it twice, but it's just absurd, just completely absurd. But the shows don't represent the community. OC is white. Nothing wrong with white people. But the storylines are contrived. New York was my favorite because most of the women were actually successful women. Some were self-made, some married into money. The poor one was Bethany Frankel. She actually had a basic job. She was a chef, and we saw her in the restaurants, and she became the most successful from Bravo. Let me tell you a little story about Bethany. Bethany, I think they paid her anywhere between $7,000 and $19,000, and she said that was a lot for her, and she just took it because she needed the money. She's living paycheck to paycheck, and we saw her, with her muffins, fat-free muffins, and trying to give muffins, and nobody wanted it, and she's standing in the supermarket just defeated. And then she developed Skinny Girl, and she sold Skinny Girl to Seagram's, the liquor. There was Skinny Girl vodka and all this. So she sold that name to Seagram's. And I think she made anything from nothing. She went from anywhere between $100 to $100 million, $50 to $100 million. Now, when she first came on the Bravo, they had her sign a contract. And one of the boxes she had to check and sign was, if you make any money as a result of being this show, we should have a piece of that. Do you agree? Yes or no? And she said no. Not that she ever thought she'd be as successful as she is now, but she said no. Well, after she reached success, they now call that the Bethany Rule. Now, that came from Bethany Frankel herself. So anyone who signs on to these shows and start a business and become successful, Bravo gets a piece of that now. Isn't that interesting? But Bethany by far was the poorest one, paycheck to paycheck. And now she buys two or three. She has like two or three homes that cost anywhere between $7 to $20 million. But it's interesting. So that's the Bethany Rule. But going back to diversity is lacking, and it's hard to add people later. But in no special order, I just want to review the shows that are in trouble. They either need to recast them or just move to another city. Starting with the beginning of the Housewives, Orange County. Vicki Gunvalson was the queen bee. Problem with queen bees and people who think they're kings of the building is that, they feel they have the most seniority. They were there from the beginning. We find them on our regular jobs that, I'm the queen or the king here because I've been here the longest. as a result, they forget they're just an employee. Nene Leakes and Teresa Giudice. We're the queen bee. And because they're well liked, the shows have given them latitude, but you can see it, particularly right now in New Jersey, with the exception of Margaret and Melissa. I don't think they like Teresa. Some do, but do they like Teresa? No. And Teresa hasn't had a storyline since she's come out of jail. They milked it. And I mean, you could tell the storyline is when she lied to Jackie, or lied about Jackie's husband, Evan, saying that she heard he was having an affair. We all knew that was a lie. It didn't come from her. She heard. And it blew up in her face, as her lies generally do. And then it went downhill from that. She next season, we have Danielle, who was her arch enemy. She flipped the table over. Suddenly they're best friends. Well, she's a little afraid of Margaret, and so she got Jackie to do her bidding. Danielle pulled her hair. She told them to do it. She didn't admit it, and when she was caught on camera, and she had a fit because she was busted on camera, and she was mad at production for allowing that to be filmed. And then she went to with Danielle out of the picture. They were in New Orleans, and she threw a drink and dishes at Margaret. They had to put her in a different hotel, her and Louis. We knew what happened. This season is about the Gorgas versus her husband and the wedding. She and Melissa and her brother have been going at it for 10 years now. It's gotten old. This year, my word today is polarizing. The audience is tired of it. The argument's the same. The lies are the same. Initially, at the beginning of the season, the fans' sympathy went to Melissa, and as things started to reveal itself. And Melissa, sometimes I'm not sure if her elevator goes all the way up. I'm not saying she's dumb. I'm just saying she's slow. I don't think she's intentionally mean. She can be, but she didn't realize no one wants to be second or third, and especially when it's family. And when you invite other people and not my parents or not us, it makes you feel a certain kind of way. That's just how family is. And toward the middle of the season, when I was watching, because I watch What's Happened Live, Andy's show on Bravo, they would do these polls, and there was a shift about mid-season. Teresa was always here, but all of a sudden they were par, and then Melissa here. The sympathy went towards, and right now on TikTok, on social media, it's all Melissa and the Gorgas. Her fans are holding in tight, but that episode right before where she was talking to Louis on film, and Louis was talking about how he didn't want her brother on the show, and he said, well, we're Mike now. That was it. Boom. This is Melissa, and you can't even see where Teresa is. I mean, there was a hot Mike moment. And Bravo hasn't done any filming. They should be filming, and they have a big decision to make. I think Teresa's too polarizing. I think she has her fans. Um, their problems is twofold. Melissa is popular right now, but as in Kathy Hilton, that fades really quickly. Um, but here's the problem. On all the shows, the men on Jersey like each other. And every year they play a greater part and the audience react favorably to them. And the heart and soul of the men's group is Joe Gorga. So if they get rid of Melissa and Joe, that men's group is gone. He is the de facto leader of that show, of the men's group. Not as he queen bee, he just has a personality to bring people together. He's just a good time. I don't see Frank or the other people getting that together because there's only really three men who keeps that rolling. Joe is the initiator, and then you have Frank and Margaret's husband is Joe. And so without Joe, that men's group that we like when they get together and how they sit back and go, what are they talking about now? We're just going to stay out of it. And when you think they're about to go to blows, the men go, well, should we get involved? And they're like, I'm not sure. It's fun. But we don't see that. All the other men relationships and all the other shows so manufactured. These men, even Bill, likes the other men. They like each other. And the center of that is Joe. So if you get rid of the Gorgas, the men are gone. Louis is not coming back. He is not welcome to men's group because he's alienated the group. So he is toxic to the group. So you have you have Teresa, who's a problem with the show. And then you have Louis, who everybody hates. I mean, there are questions about his company. They're questioning, did he target Teresa to just get on the show? Because there's some benefit for him. But we don't really know what he does. And now an attorney is looking at his company. There are rumors of he could have a similar internet of Jen Shaw, maybe defrauding people. Allegedly. I don't have, all I have is Dollar Tree money and I'm trying to keep it. Allegedly, rumor. But that's what's out there. And she was not bright enough. You figure she learned from her first husband, who she went to prison, to not do a prenup. And so it's going to be interesting. But I think Teresa should go. A lot of people are going to be upset, but I think it's more detrimental to the show, and they're working that out. But I think it's more detrimental to the show if she stays, because she has no storyline. She really doesn't. And the men and some of the women, according to this, what we see in the reunion, they're not thrilled. So what does she do? They don't like her man. Her man's not going to be part of the group because Frank wasn't happy. Margaret's Joe wasn't happy because apparently he supposedly called family and he made trouble. The new girl, Rachel and her husband's not thrilled because they're accusing him of getting information on their adoption, calling the baby's mama. So I don't know. They have a tough decision, but my decision, and if you're watching or anybody there, Teresa kept that show going for a long time, but it's time for her to go. So let's get into it real quick. I'm 24 minutes in. Orange County needs to go. Bringing Tamara back. You bring people back with two exceptions. has never worked. Uh, Atlanta. I love Candy. I love Kenya, and I got honors for Kenya in a second. But you need to recast or leave Atlanta. And if you do recast in all of these cities, make sure you have people from that reflects the population of that community. There's more than one white lady in Atlanta. I know a lot of people think about the black show. It's a show for entertainment. Kim entertained us. Okay. My biggest disappointment was Potomac. Again, they're in the DMV. Where are the Hispanic people? Where are the Mexicans? Where are the Hispanics? There are very successful Hispanic ladies. They're white women who could be on that show. There are Asians, but at this point, this show in its short life, this season was a complete disaster, with Chris Bassett being collateral damage. His reputation's affected by this. You know, if you just to bring you up, Giselle, one of the OGs on the show, said that she felt uncomfortable with him and suggested that he was there for, she was in danger. Then Ashley said a friend, and bless the woman's heart, I can't see anybody with eyesight. Oh, okay, I'm not gonna say that. That's horrible. Anyway, she said, "Oh yeah, he came after me too." And these women and the men who are married to, they can't sue because he would have a defamation case against Giselle if they weren't on Bravo. But he signed that away. Even if they fight and someone is hurt, no one had a storyline. No one had a really cogent and it was, last season was fading, but this season was a disaster, just disaster. Andy tried, because I want to call her Cassidy, but one of the women was talking about, well, it's colorism because you have light-skinned black women versus a couple of dark-skinned black women. It was a disaster. Recast or let it go. But the DMZ, DC, Maryland, Florida, tons of people. I'll bring back a diverse cast because I can't see anybody worth keeping. I know you're like, are you out of your mind? Maybe. But they're almost there with OC. Maybe it's just best to let it go. I don't see it getting any better. Because these women were desperate for a storyline. And it was just horrible. And these people haven't been together that long. Beverly Hills, Garcelle, they milked Erica Jane. Kathy Hilton, different. Maybe she's riding the coattails of her daughter, Kathy Hilton. I'm sorry. Her daughter's name. I can't think of the daughter. But only thing about Kathy Hilton, she wasn't mic'd. And no, she will no longer be there after threatening and saying, well, if Erica Jane and Lisa Rinna's not there. So they have black woman, Garcelle, who is well-spoken, very articulate, but struggling because, like a lot of these shows, I don't think any of those women in Beverly Hills have actual black friends. They know black people. They're in Hollywood. They know Hispanics in Hollywood. They know Asians. But part of the daily diet to socialize, do they come over and have drinks? I don't see it. I don't see it. And Garcelle is struggling because, again, white people don't want to be seen as racist, and so they're very, very, very cautious to protect that image and not protect racism. New York, like bringing Ebony K. Williams was a disaster. I can say that bringing a black woman to New York, even though they need black representation, but she was polarizing. She was intimidating, and she insisted that all of her white cast members immerse themselves into African American 101. Who wants to go to school? I thought, well, I'm just trying to get to know you. I don't need to know the history. Do I need to know the history of black people and before I can be your friends? From speaking for someone who has lots of Caucasian friends, a lot of Hispanic friends, Indian and Asian friends, hell no. If I have to come to your house and to be your friend, I have to get a history. There are things that come up and we can explain that, but for me to sit down and say, okay, I'm going to tell you how to act around me. Leah, new cast member, kind of out there. These are all women in their 40s, 50s, and getting near 60. Ramona is 60 plus. It looks good. So she was polarizing. So they have a new New York cast. Not sure this is going to take a season or two to take hold, but it's more diverse, thank goodness. And I hope they give it time for us to get to know the people and like the people. Cover Jersey, Dubai. It's an expensive production, but there's a lot of potential there. I say keep everybody. Because not only do you have different races and different backgrounds, you have different religions in a country, in an area of the country that has very conservative, extremely conservative ways. But the world's excited about Dubai. I was there last year. It's an exciting place to be. I think there's potential. Salt Lake, we have Teresa Giudice 101, or should I say 201 in Jen Shaw. Running away from the police. That was the best opening ever last season, or the season before last, and now going to jail. And then you had Mary Crosby. But Mary Crosby didn't show up a season ago to the reunion, which is the death knell. If you don't show up at the reunion, you don't get your job back. They're bringing her back. Again, bringing the old stars back. I know all of you have heart pains. Oh, I just love Nene, and I just love Vicky, and I love Tamara. It doesn't work. They paid Nene a lot of money, probably more money than they've ever paid anybody, because that was the number one franchise. When she came back the first time, she was polarizing. Because after all, I'm the queen bee. But the second time she came back was a disaster. She didn't go to the reunion. She walked away. Remember they were in a Zoom. She was at home. She just closed her computer down. Come on, sis. You're fired. They don't work. I know, let's bring back Phaedra. She's so funny. What could she bring new? So I'm kind of worried, because if it was up to me, I'd have got rid of Meredith. Lisa has potential. She's funny, yet divisive. This year on the bubble is Heather. But one thing I can say, from the beginning, they had a diverse group, and the brown girls kept it alive. Salt Lake is a different nut to crack. It is a white city. So if they brought other white people, but having a diverse, and these people also knew each other, or knew of each other. So I don't know which way Salt Lake is going to go, but it's holding my attention. I'm looking forward to seeing it. Covered Beverly Hills, covered Atlanta, OC. I want to give the MVPs of Housewives. Number one with a bullet is Bethany Frankel. They will pay her the big bucks. Anytime she wants to come back, she can go back. She's the exception. Kenya Moore, and the other one is going to be Lisa Rinna. A lot of people don't like Kenya Moore. Kenya Moore can create. She's very smart. She and Bethany are very smart. When she was gone, you could feel it. When they demoted her to a friend, you could feel it in Atlanta. Right now, she's going in a different direction. She's smart. I think she's acting, but she's bringing it. Marlo is a disaster. Why did he give her a peach? She should be a friend marginally, because all the years she's been on there, what do we know? And you come in the comments. What do we know about Margot today? What have we learned in the time she's been on the show? That performance where she screamed and she said, when the situation, Candy's cousin was shot in the store, and the production people came out and said, "Listen, we need to talk about that." But Candy and Todd says no because it's all legal. We can't talk about it. Marlo's nephew was killed, and so she screamed out of nowhere, came out of nowhere saying, "Why don't you feel my pain?" And she screamed, "My nephew was killed!" Her nephew was killed 3 years ago. She's on, right now, she hates the queen bee, Candy, and that's who she's going after. That's her storyline. We know nothing. We don't know who she dates. We don't know where she works, where she gets her source of income. We know nothing about her. So, but I want to hear, maybe I missed something. I've been watching and I've been coming, out of all the shows, New York, Salt Lake, and Atlanta is the shows I've been watching most of, but I've watched them all. And Atlanta hit all-time low last week in ratings. I don't know what it's going to do. This is Sunday right now. I'm not sure what they're going to do. I'm not watching. But Bravo needs new heads. They need to start off with casts that reflect their cities. So if suddenly Salt Lake City was all white, I could say that. But maybe going to Denver, maybe go to New Orleans, maybe go Boston. But I think Orange County is done. I don't think it'd be resurrected. Potomac, start all new, or just look for another city. These are my thoughts, my recommendation to Bravo. I love you. I listen to Radio Andy. And for the other people on Sirius, and to bloggers everywhere, I'm with you. My blog is not running right now, but I am appearing on podcasts. For anybody who want me to speak, I'm there. Hello? Sure. What are you doing? Nothing. Waiting for Below Deck. Love Below Deck. Below Deck is fresh because they have new cast members all the time. Can't get into the summer house things, but I like Below Deck, all versions of it, because it's fresh. Every season we have 1, 2, sometimes 3 people, because people are fired mid-seasons, to love and hate fresh, interesting. Not feeling that from Housewives. Want to think what you think. This is one of my longest videos. If you've hung in with me, thank you very much. You're going to be blessed for putting up with me this long, but I'm passionate about the Housewives. If you disagree with me, and I know a lot of people do, now don't come to my house. Don't try to find me. Don't try to murder my family. It's just a show. It's not that serious. But I do want to hear what you think. But please, I'm an old man, can't you tell? Meanwhile, everyone, I'm wishing you love, joy, peace, and happiness. It is a choice. Be nice to each other. Treat each other well. If you please hit that like button for me. And I don't do just social media, I do everything on this YouTube channel. I can also be found on Instagram, Spotify, and TikTok. TikTok, I embarrass my children on TikTok, so I'm just letting you know in advance. But meanwhile, thank you for watching. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate you hanging in this long. I promise my reviews are not this long. I'm out of here. Thank you, thank you, thank you for watching. Bye now.